flight time. Everything else is automated. It doesn't mean that the pilot isn't instrumental to that flight because they need to take off and land the plane and control it. But machines are so advanced that the pilot doesn't have to do much really for a lot of the flight. And the same when it comes to advertising. Okay. You've got to trust the platforms are going to find relevant people for you, basically. So what that means for advertisers now is you need to focus on your creative and your messaging. You need to resonate and be relevant to an audience based on that funnel. And that is the hardest part of this. Anyone can learn how to press buttons and set up an ad, but how well do you know your audience? And what's going to make them take that final action? So essentially, when we talk about advertising in the future, if I was to sit here in a year's time, I'm probably going to focus more on creative strategy rather than the different targeting options. Okay? Because as time moves on, and the same for other platforms too, okay, they're going to become so automated, but the key responsibility for people looking to advertise is their messaging and the look and feel of their content. So that's that. So it's a probably quite a lot to take in maybe for those who have not experienced advertising before. But I just want you to be aware of how sophisticated these platforms are and how you can reach specific audiences with specific messages without having to do too much, apart from know your audience's interests and wants and needs. So does anyone have any questions on that? So SaaS, targeted ads, convenient or creepy. So it's only ever going to be creepy I don't know if creepy is the wrong word. Targeted ads are, if relevant, make sense to you. So for example, I've been looking for some new trainers, and there's a site I like called 80s. Okay, and if I go onto my Instagram or I go onto my Facebook, I will see those shoes. And it's reminding me, essentially, to buy them, and I probably will buy them. And seeing them every day makes me fall in love with them a little bit more. They're a couple of £100. I'm a bit like, it's quite a lot of money just for a pair of trainers. So that's, you could say, maybe not creepy, but it's relevant to me, so they will probably get a sale. It becomes creepy if, and I've noticed this, you can have a conversation in a room with some friends, and let's say I was saying, I'm going on holiday to Italy next week, I'm desperate for a new, suitcase, and then you go onto social media and you get targeted with the suitcase. That's creepy, but that's also because your phones are listening to you without scaring you too much. That's probably creepy because you're not aware of that, you're not online, so it's how do they know that? But I'd say most of the time, if done well, convenient. So just can you enhance on what you mean, Sarah, by subliminal advertising? Is that in response to what I'm having?
Yeah, it's just an additional comment to like the creepiness of advertising. Yeah. But yeah, it wasn't a question.
I think if we look at, okay, again, jellyfish training, okay, someone goes and looks at our Facebook advertising course, and they've been on that site maybe 3 or 4 times but haven't converted. They want that course. How do we get them over the line? Do we share them or serve them an ad which is a review of our course? For example, Jane from Walmart said the course was exceptional, so whatever we have, what content we have to get them over the line. So yes, it's absolutely convenient for advertisers because you can be super targeted. I think if we need to think about relevance and knowing our audience well to make sure we're not serving them rubbish messaging and content. Any other thoughts or questions? So with Facebook owning the whole social media suite, WhatsApp, Instagram, etc., would this type of advertising be used across all Facebook-owned platforms? So, the question, Jen, you can control it. So, for example, to run an ad, you do it in a dashboard that exists on Facebook, but you could instruct the platform, I want to drive traffic to my website, I want to reach people that have an interest in yoga, and I only want to show this ad on stories. So you can control where that ad goal goes. I think there's over 20 placement options now, including the audience network, as mentioned earlier on in the presentation. But just to not confuse things anymore, but Facebook recommends targeting all placements because it gives the platform more opportunities to identify the right users. However, if you know that your audience are only on Instagram and stories is the best way to engage them, you would maybe place your ad just on stories. No worries. Any more questions, team? Yeah, so there's, again, so Sarah, when you talk about ethics, so that's the responsibility of brand, okay? So I used to work on, if this is what you mean, I used to work on a client called Pizza Hut. Obviously everyone knows what Pizza Hut is. And we had to be really careful when running ads because obviously the food isn't healthy, it's gluttonous, especially if we're targeting young audiences. So that was our responsibility of the brand. So we focus more on upper funnel activity. So if we were running like a pop-up or an event or doing something with an influencer, we would promote that to people that have an interest in pizza or Domino's, etc., rather than driving ads to buy some of our pizzas, because that wasn't very responsible for us. We did do that, but we focus more on upper funnel brand building than driving action. So it depends, okay? Facebook knows more about an audience because, for example, you sign up to Instagram, you are a female or a male, you live in Singapore, you're aged 30. It knows more about the unique individual, whereas Google's based on search habits. So they complement each other. Because the funnel that we talk about, it might be you use social media, for example, for awareness, whereas you might use Google, because if someone has searched, I don't know, Mercedes new car, you can then retarget those people. I'm not a Google expert, but this is how I would see it. They complement each other depending on which part of the funnel you're attacking. However, to answer your question, social media platforms know more about the unique user because you're a person signing into an account with your age, your sex, and then learning about your unique behaviors, characteristics. Whereas Google is based on probability, I'd say. Current trends I've noticed. So just in general, when it comes to advertising, I think COVID has been an interesting one. Because brands that stopped advertising during COVID because panic, worried about their money, they have probably, or their bottom line is going to be impacted from that. I think you always need to be on, and it doesn't mean you need to always be selling to people, retargeting ads, for example. It could be that you're building some sort of connection, sharing content that is relevant to them. So so one thing I have noticed, to kind of answer your question, is brands need to build a brand. And building a brand isn't just showcasing your product or service, it's about making people trust you. So the example I gave for the insurance, I had to think about that off the top of my head, but when I, for example, or when one purchases house insurance, they do that because they don't want their belongings to get stolen. They don't want people to break in, and there is that worry. So what kind of content could you create which is going to explain that? So entertaining content or informative content or educational. It's not about buy my insurance now. It's about making people aware this is something they should consider. Or, for example, going on holiday. If you don't have holiday insurance, there must be some horror stories of people that have broken their leg and then had to pay thousands. Okay, so that's the kind of content I'm thinking about. Ads, Pinterest ads. I love Pinterest ads. So I actually run a Pinterest course, and Pinterest for me is a really good platform to advertise because it's really cheap. And although it's more prominent in the US, so I typically train people in the US on Pinterest because more people use it, it's a really good tool to target people right at the beginning of their journey. So I think it's something like 97% of searches on Pinterest are unbranded. So someone goes to that platform and searches for, I don't know, metal bed frame. And they are saying, brands, give me your metal bed frames. They're desperate. They are searching specifically for something. So if you can advertise on there and show your metal bed frame to that person that is searching for metal bed frame, you are likely to build an instant connection. You're helping them. It's more native advertising. I see Pinterest advertising more like search. It's Google search Pinterest with pictures, essentially. It just is a little bit clunky. But a lot of Google developers are working for Pinterest, which is good because it means that the platform technology should be more advanced in coming months and years. So YouTube ads. So I don't train in YouTube because it's a product of Google. It's a saturated platform, but again, how relevant? If you're in market for a new car and you've been searching lots of different car brands and looking at different pages on the website, etc., and then you get served with a car mid-video, it's going to attract your attention. Facebook is full funnel, but it's the most sophisticated for driving performance. But you can put an ad out on Facebook. It could be a video. You could target it to show the ad to people that are more likely to watch that video, and that's brand awareness. So to answer your question, it's full funnel. It's effective for all. And really, you should be running ads. When I'm training people, so for example, I'm training a client later, I'm not going to say just run website traffic ads or conversion ads, run awareness ads too. You need to be tackling or reaching people at every element of that funnel. If your audience is on Facebook and Instagram, okay, I'm pretty confident in saying that you will get some results if you invest budget into it. And when I say results, I mean sign-ups, sales, inquiries, whatever your conversion looks like.
All right. Okay. Do we have any more questions for Kanita?
Okay. Just know your audience. Make sure you've got your tracking set up correctly. But identifying your audience, so it's not just that target audience in terms of they are a female and have interest X, Y, and Z, but what kind of creative is going to pull them in? What's going to make them take an action?
I think we have a question from Sarah Ann. She's talking about physical ads, like posters on trees. So how effective do you think that is as compared to social media?
Yes, they're harder to measure. So I actually was talking about this the other day. So on the tube, I do definitely read the ads because I'm sat there and I've got nothing to do. But the problem is with out-of-home advertising, unless it's interactive, it's really hard to measure. Yes, they will have studies in place where you can identify footfall and work out some equation, but with a social media ad, for example, you place an ad on someone's Instagram feed, that ad is then clicked on and someone goes to the website and does something, you can track that full journey, which is a lot more valuable than if you put a poster on a wall. However, out-of-home advertising is fantastic for awareness. even if it's really difficult to track. So it completely depends on where you are in the world. So for example, in the UK, I'd say 30 plus. No, I'd say that if you are under 30, you're probably not on Facebook as active. And Instagram, you can reach anyone from 16 all the way up to 60, quite honestly. However, I'm not sure how the Singapore market might differ. So you would, again, need to do your research to identify, are people in Singapore using Facebook more or Instagram? But yeah, I'd say in the UK, it's more like my mum would use Facebook. I do have it, but I'm not often logging in unless I'm training. Cool. It's honestly, team, it's really cool. I love advertising. And you might watch this Netflix doc and think, oh my gosh. However, it's smart. Okay? I would rather be served relevant content than random ads that mean nothing to me. That's when I get annoyed. I'm very aware because I work in marketing. But if it's going to... Okay, another example. Let's say you are... your skin hasn't been very clear. It hasn't been very nice. You've been worrying about it. You've been reading reviews on how to get rid of blemishes. And then you get targeted with an ad which talks about a product that is right up your street. So it's ethically created, it's got natural ingredients in. You're like, thank you, this is what I've been looking for. That's helpful. So you can be really strategic with your advertising. But the key thing is know your audience and know how they respond to things.
Right. I think on that note, if no one else has a question, Kanita, would you like to share with everyone how they can possibly connect with you through LinkedIn or your socials?
Yeah, so feel free to add me on LinkedIn. I'll put my name here. If you have any questions, please do let me know. If you have any questions, for example, business related around social advertising, I'm more than happy to answer. But yeah, there's my training schedule or agendas on the link above, where if you're interested in training, just get in touch. I won't disappoint, I promise. But yeah, just keep in touch, and I hope if you are looking to take advertising on, that it goes well for you.
Kanita, thank you so much. That was really insightful. I think our participants today, I think there's definitely a lot of things that they can take away from this session. Thank you everyone for participating and all the questions. And as Kanita said, feel free to reach out to her on her socials and also check out Jellyfish for more training sessions like this. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Right, thank you.
See you later.
Bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye.
The recording has stopped.